Hello, everyone! Welcome to Ollie's Top 10!
All right, let's get right into one of Sherlock Holmes's absolute weirdest cases. Seriously, this thing kicks off with a newspaper ad for redheads only, and it all wraps up with a showdown in a pitch-black bank vault. So picture this. The whole mystery gets rolling when this fella, Mr. Jabez Wilson, a pawnbroker with this incredible shock of red hair, shows up at 221B Baker Street. And the story he tells, well, it's so out there, so unbelievable, you just know it's going to be one for the books, even for Holmes. And this is where it all started. Check out this ad. It's promising a ton of money. We're talking £4 a week, which was a fortune back then, for a job with, and I quote, purely nominal services. Basically, you get paid for doing almost nothing. The only catch? You had to have red hair. Okay, so let's meet the cast of characters. First, you've got our client, the totally baffled Mr. Wilson. Then, and this is where it gets interesting, there's his assistant, Vincent Spaulding. Right off the bat, two things about this guy should set off alarm bells. One, he insists on working for half pay. Who does that? And two, he's got this passion for photography, which just so happens to mean he spends hours and hours locked away in the cellar developing pictures. So, what was this amazing job? Get this. Mr. Wilson's only task was to sit in an office and copy the Encyclopedia Britannica. That's it, starting with the letter A. The pay was great, but there was this one super strict rule. He could not leave the building between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. No exceptions. And for 2 whole months, this crazy setup becomes his life. Every day, he shows up, copies pages about, I don't know, abbots and archery, and every single Saturday, like clockwork, he gets his money. It's got to be the most boring job in the world, but hey, the pay is good. Then, poof, just like that, it's all gone. He shows up one morning and all that's there is this little sign on the door. The league is dissolved, the whole place is empty. Everything just vanished. And Mr. Wilson is left standing there, totally confused and suddenly unemployed. This is where Sherlock Holmes really shines, right? For him, the case doesn't begin with the crazy story about the league. Nope. It begins with the man telling the story. Holmes just sits there, watching his new client, and you know his brain is picking up on things that no one else would ever see. And this is the perfect example of what makes Holmes, well, Holmes. Dr. Watson looks at Mr. Wilson and just sees, a pretty average, kind of slow-moving shop owner. But Holmes, he looks at the same guy and in a split second reads his entire life story. So you're probably wondering, how on earth did he know all that? Well, Holmes breaks it down. It's not magic, he says, it's just observation. The guy's right hand is bigger than his left, manual labor. He's got a pin, Freemason. The cuff of his shirt is shiny. He's been writing a lot. It's all right there if you just look. And after hearing this whole ridiculous story, Holmes comes out with one of his most famous lines. See, for him, the tougher the case, the more tobacco he needs to think it through. So when he calls this a 3-pipe problem, that's his way of saying, okay, this one's a doozy. It's going to take some serious brain power to figure this out. All right, so after he's had his think, it's time for action. Holmes isn't one to just sit around. He grabs Watson and they head straight to the scene of the crime, or, well, the scene of the weirdest job ever, Saxe-Coburg Square. And once they get there, Holmes starts doing some really odd stuff. He's banging on the pavement with his cane, listening. He knocks on the pawn shop door, pretending to need directions, but he's really just getting a look at that assistant. Every weird little thing he does is actually a calculated move to test out the idea that's cooking in his head. And this is it, the big clue. The thing that makes it all click for Holmes. It's not some grand discovery. It's the knees of the assistant's pants. They're worn out, they're dirty, they're wrinkled. And that tells Holmes one thing and one thing only. This guy has been digging. A lot. The last piece of the puzzle falls right into place when Holmes takes a quick stroll around the block. He's checking out the neighboring businesses, and what do you know? Mr. Wilson's little pawn shop just so happens to share a back wall with a massive bank. Suddenly, the motive isn't so mysterious anymore. Okay, so now Holmes has all the pieces. He can finally lay out the whole incredible scheme. And this is the beauty of it. The weirdest parts of the story, the red hair, the encyclopedia, they were the biggest clues all along. The plan was absolutely brilliant, you have to admit. The Redheaded League, it was all a sham, a crazy, elaborate, genius distraction. The entire point was just to get the pawnbroker, Mr. Wilson, out of his own shop for 4 hours every single day, giving them the perfect cover to dig a tunnel from his basement right into the bank vault next door. And we're not talking about a small-time robbery here. The prize at the end of that tunnel was huge. The bank was storing a massive shipment of French gold, 30,000 pounds worth. That's like millions of dollars today. So why did they suddenly shut down the league? Holmes figures it out instantly. It means the tunnel is finished. They're ready to make their move. The robbery is about to happen. The only question is when, and the obvious answer is Saturday night. That gives them the whole weekend to get away clean. All right, now the game is on. Holmes doesn't waste a second. He gets Watson, he gets a guy from Scotland Yard, and they prepare for the big finale. They're not going to wait for the crooks to come to them. They're going to set a trap right inside the bank vault. So there they are, huddled together in the cold, pitch-black darkness of the bank vault. It's Holmes, Watson, a cop, and the bank manager. Just waiting, in total silence, for something to happen. And after what must have felt like forever, they see it. A little glint of light shining up through the stone floor. The light gets bigger, and they know. They're coming. The end comes fast. One of the big stone slabs on the floor lifts up, and out climbs the assistant, John Clay. But before he even knows what's happening, wham! Holmes is on him, grabbing him by the collar. His partner tries to bolt, but he's caught too. The whole heist is over in seconds. And it's only after the capture that we find out who this assistant really is. This isn't just some random thief. He's John Clay. The guy is practically royalty, went to the best schools, and he's also a murderer, a forger, and one of the smartest and most dangerous criminals in the entire country. He's at the absolute top of his game. And the story ends with a classic bit of Holmes' wisdom. He explains that, as a rule, the stranger something seems, the less mysterious it actually is. It's the boring, everyday crimes that are the real head-scratchers. A story as bizarre as the Redheaded League? Well, it just had to have a bold but perfectly logical explanation behind it.
Ollie says, hope you like the video. Thanks for listening.